was a damp night. The rain had stopped a few hours earlier, but the air still carried the cold of it. Mr. Arif, an ambulance driver in his late 40s, had just finished a task he knew too well by now, transporting the body of a traffic accident victim. The victim was a man in his early 30s. He had died on the way to the hospital from massive trauma to the head and face. His identity wasn't yet confirmed, but his family had already gathered at the funeral home to receive him. The drive from the hospital to the funeral home was quiet. The body lay on a stretcher in the back, covered with a white sheet. Streetlights passed across the windshield and slid through the mirrors in soft glints. Arif didn't speak, didn't play music, just focused on the road. When he arrived, the family took the body in silence and sorrow. Nothing unusual happened. They lifted the stretcher, prayed, and disappeared behind the doors of the funeral home. Mr. Arif closed the back doors of the ambulance. The vehicle was now empty. He got back behind the wheel and started the return trip to the hospital. The streets were almost deserted. Traffic lights blinked through fog, and the city noise had nearly faded away. For the first few minutes, nothing felt out of place. But somewhere along a darker stretch of road, a strange feeling crept in, like someone was sitting in the back of the ambulance again. He knew it was empty. He had just watched the body leave. Yet his mind and his skin disagreed. He kept driving, then out of nowhere came a small sound. From the floor of the rear cabin. A click, a tap, as if something hard had just rolled an inch and stopped. Arif glanced at the rearview mirror, nothing but darkness. An empty seat and the cold metal rails of the stretcher. He tried to calm himself, probably a coin, he thought, or a loose screw, something ordinary. But his body didn't buy it. Moments later, there was another sound. Not loud, but clear, a dragging sound, like something shifting slowly across the metal floor in the back. His heartbeat climbed. He pressed the accelerator just a little harder. And then came the smell. A thick, metallic scent, strong like fresh blood mixed with rust. It crawled in through the cabin, even though the back had been cleaned before he took the body. He didn't look back. At the final traffic light before the hospital, his side mirror fogged over. Just a thin layer. It was strange. The air conditioner was off. The fog looked like it had been traced by a single finger from the inside. Arif said nothing. He just kept driving. When he reached the ambulance bay behind the hospital, he turned off the engine. He didn't get out immediately. He sat there, hands still on the wheel, listening to the faint dripping of leftover rain. The rear of the ambulance looked darker than usual. Eventually, he forced himself out. Before heading home, he decided to clean the back of the vehicle like he always did after a body transfer. He opened the rear doors, put on latex gloves, switched on the overhead cabin light, and stepped inside. Some wet patches stained the floor, though he was sure there hadn't been any leaks. Using his small flashlight, he checked under the stretcher rails. And there something caught the light. Small, white, stuck to the corner of the floor. At first, he thought it was a piece of plastic, maybe a bit of debris, but when he picked it up with a medical tissue, the shape was unmistakable. A human tooth, still intact, with traces of torn tissue around the root. Arif froze, his hand stopped moving, and then a soft sound from inside the cabin wall. Then another, not loud, but intentional, like something shifting its weight or tapping for acknowledgement. The metallic smell returned, and the fog reappeared on the mirror glass slowly from the inside. That night, for the first time in his career, Mr. Arif walked away from the ambulance without finishing the cleanup. He left the back doors half open. The next morning, the forensic team confirmed what he already suspected. The accident victim he transported the night before had suffered massive facial trauma. Several teeth were never recovered from the crash site, including the one left behind in the ambulance on the ride back.